Mr. Secretary, I was at another hearing, and I walk in here and I'm confused. What's your title again? You are the Secretary of what?
Treasury.
Treasury. And you came here to talk about the Treasury and the economy. Is that not correct?
This is a hearing on international financial institutions, Congressman.
And that is significant to the people of the United States, right?
I think it's very important.
And, well, by the way, maybe because our economy has recovered, has it recovered substantially since 2008?
It has recovered substantially. We're on the right path. We still have more work to do, but the rest of the world is now looking to us as an example of how you bring yourself back.
And the unemployment rate now must be very high.
Well, it's as you know, in the mid-fives.
Oh, so maybe other folks don't have anything to talk about in regards to the economy and what your job really is. So maybe they're trying to talk about something else since they have nothing of substance that affects the economy of our country to discuss with you, Mr. Secretary of the Treasury.
I'm happy to discuss the economy for as long as you'd like.
Let's get to what I think that you're here for, and you're here to talk about it, because I think being the Secretary of the Treasury, and it affects the American people, how we're going and where we're moving, I think that's substantial. And for me, I want to just ask some questions which I think would be relevant. I know that the ranking member was very involved and concerned about it, and I think a few other members, and that's about anti-money laundering issues. A number of banks have faced heavy fines levied by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network recently. And, Mr. Secretary, what should we make of the larger number of banks being deemed in noncompliance with our anti-money laundering regulations?
Congressman, the anti-money laundering rules are very important. It's the way we make sure that illicit activity is caught and stopped. I think that we have been aggressive and effective in making the law well understood and in underscoring the importance of having compliance programs. I think that what we've seen in recent years is a kind of risk aversion developing where financial institutions have been, if anything, going beyond what may be required. They're not required to stop doing business, say, in a country where there are problems. They're required to have the kind of compliance program where they can catch problems and prevent having problematic transactions. So I think that there's kind of two halves to this. What is the part that we control? What is the part that financial institutions control? And we've worked hard to communicate both with financial institutions and internationally with our counterparts abroad to make sure that systems are in place where we can both have very tight standards on stopping illicit money activities, but also have a system where financial transactions can continue.
So do you think that the banks are putting enough effort and resources into this?
Look, I think they're putting resources into it. I think that they need to look at what the proper compliance program is, so that they can remain engaged in important areas of commerce without opening the door to prohibited activities.
So Jilly, you used the phrase that you need to know your customer. Do you think the bank should also know their customer's customer?
Well, they're responsible for where the money is coming from and going to, banks know what are suspicious transactions that should raise attention, and we work closely to make sure it's clear what is required of them.
Let me, in the little time I have left, because I just came back from Asia, and I was looking at the President's proposals for TPP and some of his trade agenda, and there's things that are popping up, and I know you've had some questions already about currency manipulation, or whether there should be a currency chapter in TPP. I didn't hear your answer, but
I didn't get much of a chance to answer.
Go ahead, please.
We are very much of the view that unfair currency practices have to be stopped. We engage in the multilateral processes at the G7, the G20, at the IMF. We engage intensely on a bilateral basis to try and bring behavior up to a level that meets what is the broad international standard of market-determined exchange rates and only using domestic tools for domestic purposes, not to gain unfair advantage. My view on whether it belongs in a trade agreement is separate from how aggressive we are at pushing back on practices that we think are unacceptable.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The Chair now recognizes the gentleman from California,